He was one of a kind.
He did a 2-footed lunge tackle and sparked a 22-man brawl.
He hit him, and he hit him hard.
So that's a serious hard.
All right, okay, well, we'll have that one.
I don't think Van Bommel, to me, is not a hard man. It's just a nasty little irritant.
Mark Van Bommel was a hard man in more of a sly way. He'd leave his foot in, he'd come in with the late tackles. Very clever player.
He'd grab people by the nads, he'd elbow, he'd clap them from
But
behind.
that doesn't mean he's hard, though, does it? Just
well, I'm the person he's not grabbing hold of, isn't it?
He picked up his fair share of yellow cards, and it was no surprise that he got sent off in his last ever professional game.
That's probably why he's had to retire now. Football is such a non-contact sport, he'd actually run out of things to do.
Chick Charnley was more than a hard man, he was a thug. He picked up 17 red cards in 18 years. He broke Darren Jackson's jaw. He even entitled his autobiography, Seeing Red.
I looked at various names of hard men. One of the ones that came up was Chick something or other, so I put in hard Chick and I got a few other things that I shouldn't have got.
Yes, that's not enough to do football, James.
It's nothing to do with football, is it?
A lot of his teammates would say that he had a real talent on the ball, but he had a really, really nasty mean streak.
Do you know, when I think about German football in the mid-90s and the early part of this decade, you know, it's about big, vibrant, domineering personalities, people like Oliver Kahn, Lothar Matthäus, Matthias Sammer. But I think there was one alpha male that out-alphaed them all. That was Stefan Effenberg.
He was a fantastic player. He had a massive influence on his team. He was a leader. You know, when he was going onto the pitch as captain, he had 10 people behind him looking up to him, and you knew if the going gets tough, Effie will be there for you.
You can just imagine him, what he'd say to players at half-time and what he'd say to players before the game. And you just get the real sense that if he was leading you out of the tunnel, then you've always got a chance.
Donny Goycochea, the butcher of Bilbao, as he was not so affectionately known. I think everybody knows what he did to Diego Maradona when he was playing at Barcelona.
Maradona might have a World Cup and all those medals in his trophy cupboard, but there's one thing that Goycochea still has in a glass case in his house, and that's the boot that he smashed Maradona's ankle with.
That's like O.J. Simpson keeping a glove.
That is proper psycho stuff, like Hannibal the Cannibal.
Well, we all remember Stig Tofting, Thomas Gravesen, that ball, 2 nightclub bouncers central midfield for Denmark.
Oh, he's a big bullet-headed guy covered in tats.
Yeah, the guy looks like he just came out of prison and put
Yeah.
his football boots.
You look at him, he looked like a UFC fighter after his career. You know, he was still ripped, still had all those tattoos.
He also played for Bolton. You can imagine he's one of Allardyce's hatchet men.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably spotted him on the Opta Index. Most fouls committed with left foot, we'll have him. Hardest man on the football pitch, I think, has got to go to Graham Souness.
He was a pure 80s hard man. Those kind of players probably couldn't exist today. They would just get sent off every game.
Players used to talk about, well, you get away with the first tackle free. So there would be some quite vicious tackles coming in at times.
To get away with one in the very first minute, you could go and clatter the full-back, and as you got on your feet, you could say to the referee, oh, first one left.
How you can be hard and wear budgie smugglers like that on the football pitch is beyond me. I read an article recently where he's described as the Franco Begbie of the football pitch.
My favourite Graham Souness moments is when he's playing for Rangers against Steaua Bucharest. And he takes what looks like a deliberate heavy touch in midfield, which conveniently puts him into a 50-50 with another player. And he trods in a place where nobody wants to get trod on.
Even when he's a manager, right? Remember when he's managing Galatasaray? They played Fenerbahce. He got the flag and he ran over.
How brave is that?
Planted it. I mean, that is freedom. That is incredible.
Claudio Gentili, that's a proper old man.
Yes.
Because he could play the game as well.
Claudio Gentle. That is a brilliant name.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like a Shakespeare character or
Yeah,
something.
Claudio Gentle.
And he wasn't gentle, that's the irony. One thing he always used to do was, when he used to help an opponent off the floor, he used to offer his hand and then dig his nails, his fingernails, into the opponent's hand. And obviously the referee couldn't see that, but the opponent could obviously feel it.
Because there wasn't television all the time. You'd know about Claudio Gentili But, well, no, I just mean live football. So you'd sort of, these foreign players, somebody like Claudio Gentili was almost like a mythical beast. And then you see the odd game like a World Cup or whatever, and just a complete animal.
Yeah, he was an animal.
Throughout his outstanding career, I mean, how many people did Keane fall out with? I mean, teammates, opponents.
Ferguson.
When he went through that door, down the tunnel, you know, if you had Roy Keane on your side, rather than look across and he was in the opposition, you wanted him on your side, really.
We always got at each other in the game, very fair. He would give if you give, he would take if you take. It's just very easy like that. Understood what he was getting off of me, and I understood what I was getting off of him.
You know, in 1997, Keane actually did his cruciate against Leeds, and Alfie Highland accused him of faking injury. Now, it tells you something about the mentality of Keane, that he could win Premier Leagues, he could win Champions Leagues, and all the time festering in the back of his mind was this guy that was playing for Leeds. And when he saw him in the derby, I think it was in 2001, he hit him, and he hit him hard.
I think he always thought that it's kind of a powder keg waiting to explode, and I've seen him step all over Gareth Southgate in the league game and literally didn't even bat an eyelid, and he was just on the verge of being crazy.
Looking down throughout history, right, you've isolated incidents of a hard man in a not particularly hard team. But when I think of that Estudiantes team of the late 60s, you're talking about possibly the dirtiest team of all time. And within that, Ramon Suarez.
A real hard man for Estudiantes. In the 1969 Intercontinental Cup final against Milan, he broke a defender's jaw during the match. It was so bad that he ended up doing jail time.
There's an absolutely legendary interview on Italian TV after the game. Milan beat Estudiantes, but Suarez had broken the jaw of a Milan player, Nesta Combi. And there he is on TV with his face going in 30 different directions.
Right, so in the UK, there is this fascination with the hard man. You know, they do love that kind of character, that kind of robust character with a bandage on his head and going around kicking people in the shins all day. Right, there's one guy above all others that the hard men in the UK regard as the ultimate hard man, Billy Whitehurst.
People like Neil Ruddock, who some people would regard as a hard man. Neil Ruddock said this thing about Billy Whitehurst, that if he even whispered in your ear during a match, you'd start shaking.
I used to have to screen him. I was a little bit worried about screening him because he would give you a whack, so tough centre forward, big, powerful. Wouldn't like to have been a centre-half marking him, put it that way.
And he used to love making his mark on centre-halves, young centre-halves especially, and I mean physically making his mark. He actually used to say he used to polish his elbows, and back in the day where there was no protection, he wouldn't have liked playing against him.
In his spare time, he was a bare-knuckle fighter.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when he was playing at Sheffield United, and Vinnie Jones was, again, another sort of pantomime hard man. Vinnie Jones was a teammate. They were playing for Sheffield United, and there was some confrontation with a load of Sheffield Wednesday fans who turned up, and you know, these two sort of hard men and whatnot, and they were confronted by all these fans. Apparently, Billy Whitehurst just walked up to the biggest one of the lot in Sheffield and just laid him out with what Vinnie Jones said was the best right hook I've ever seen.